public because we hope that you will benefit from it. Also, I asked who doesn't speak Czech, so who is using GraphQL already? Nice. And who is using Relay? And the rest is using Apple?
Yes.
Looks like. Nice. My talk will be Relay related because we use Relay in our company. Feel free to interrupt me with your questions if you have any. Before GraphQL related stuff, I would like to start with SLint and Babel. Because before you start working on something, I believe you should set up these tools, and we also put them public, and it's worth to mention those. So for consistent code base, faster code reviews, because you don't have to spend time arguing that this line break should be here and this indentation should be there. I hope everyone is already using some SLint and Babel, right? Is someone not using ESLint here? So try ours. The ESLint can be edited pretty easily. I hope it's readable. Yes. And it has support for React, React Native, Prettier, Jest, all the nice things. It's easily extendable with your own rules. But this one is pretty opinionated, and I believe you should add only really few. If you found some important rule you are about to add in your setup, rather send us a merge request. We would be happy to include it there if it makes sense. So everyone knows how to set up the ESLint. The cool things we added here is this slightly changed. So if you use /strict version, it doesn't allow you to ignore the warnings, because those warnings will be turned into errors, and it helps you to migrate to new major version. We always turn some warnings into errors with the major versions, and we upgrade it pretty often. So if you are feeling hardcore, try the strict version and prepare for next release. Also, Babel preset gives you ready-made support for React and class properties and all these nice syntactic shitters like optional chaining and spread operator, all these cool things. We are using it in our code base, so feel free to use it. Sometimes it brings some emotions, like shall we use optional chaining if it's still I don't know, stage what. But yeah, we risk it, because it's very beneficial. It speed up development. So first, GraphQL related library I want to share is our own fetch, which brings features for retries, timeouts, and better error handling. You can edit easily with Yarn, of course, and just two more options to the standard fetch options are configuration for timeout and retry delays. The values are in milliseconds, and hopefully it's readable. So in this example, there are defined 2 retries with 1.5 second timeout. If you hopefully you understand those benefits. If you have unstable API or REST API endpoints, sometimes they fail because, for example, the cache is it's not cached, so it takes some time. It timeouts, but just repetitive retry gives you the response. So this fetch is handling this logic, and you don't have to deal with it in your code. Yeah, and here you can see how it supports some nice errors. So you can react in your application based on if it was timeouted or there was some response error. It's pretty useful. We use it heavily, so try to use it and provide feedback. It's for free. Yeah. Next thing we are using with GraphQL is solution for logging. So those of you who are using GraphQL, what do you use for monitoring and logging? Someone is using Apple Engine? Is someone using at least anything? No? So yeah, try using logs, our package, which is built on top of logs.io, which is a service it's basically Elasticsearch and Kibana as a service. We use it because the whole engine is pretty expensive for our traffic, and we basically don't need majority of the functions. So we built our own pretty simple tool that just logs the query, the variables, if there are any deprecated fields, because you have to monitor it if you can deprecate it. Someone is not using it anymore, so remove it from the schema, duration, and the headers. It basically looks like this. So this is just the default dashboard the Logz.io offers. So we have some monitoring about number of requests, the duration, of course those you can monitor errors, and every time you can dig into with the standard Elasticsearch syntax. It's not that readable, but you get the idea. So here are the headers, here is the query, a little bit down, there are these variables. Everything you basically need for monitoring your GraphQL traffic. Next tool we built is something for checking the BC breaks in your schema. It's like a big thing because GraphQL gives you opportunity to upgrade the schema continuously. Sometimes you design something badly or you didn't realize there is some breaking change. So this tool, which is part of our continuous integration, gives you the info about some error. And so it gives you, it versions some snapshot, so it can compare to previous version. It automatically creates a changelog of BC breaks when you explicitly commit those changes. And it gives you some like developer experience because it suggests you when you create some BC break in your schema, it gives you suggestion how not to do those BC breaks, which is sometimes also important. So pretty simple configuration. You create some script you run during your continuous integration. Hopefully it's readable. Here is the example of the developer experience. So there are some BC breaks. We remove something from some enum type, and it gives you just like try this, try that, because the BC break is really the last thing you should do in your schema. Try to avoid BC breaks. Hopefully everyone heard about like Facebook is supporting 10 years old applications because they simply don't allow any BC breaks in their GraphQL schema, and it's very beneficial. Like something really big is our relay wrapper in this package, because people tend to use more like Apollo because the onboarding into this framework is sort of simpler or faster. Feedback on a relay is too complicated. I don't understand all those features around. So we prepared this wrapper. So things like response cache and support for persistent queries, all the flow types, because we don't use TypeScript, we use flow. So everything is ready in this package. We try to provide, for example, some logging which looks like this. You just get in your console info about what was requested. Hopefully this will enable, this will help people to onboard into Relay faster. What could help even more is our ready-made Relay example, which is hosted on Github. So basically it's a how-to to that previous package, if it's still not that easy to understand. It gives you really like how-to real working example for simple fetching, the endless pagination or bidirectional pagination. Basically the application looks like this. So you have three ways how to do pagination, also how to use GraphQL fragments, because this flag here is just a simple React component that not only defines how to look, but also defines where to fetch the data from the GraphQL, which is, from the front-end point of view, the biggest step that brings the Relay and GraphQL. You simply don't have to use Redux and all the things to fetch the data and pass those values to the components. You just have thousands of components and you simply compose them, because every small piece you are composing can tell the relay where to fetch the data, and the relay takes care how to get the data and pass the probes to those components. So, excuse me, Facebook guys spoke about they are having like 40,000 components, and basically you hardly could know what all the probes those components have, digging through some storybook, huge collections to figure out, I call this API, shall I pass these probes that named? You couldn't handle this load. So the GraphQL fragments and these components are a solution to this. You always focus on some small piece and let others just use it without deep knowledge of it. Check the repository, everything is open source, so you get an idea how it works. This application is using our public GraphQL, so you can also get info about like what is available, what Quivi.com is providing to GraphQL. And if you are about to dig more, then I suggest you take a look on our project Margarita, which is even more than the previous example. It's also giving like public knowledge how to build a shareable UI between web and React Native. So you can build with React Native web, you can build components in React Native that works on the web, and they can look differently on both platforms. So this is something like another huge step in front-end development, that you build only one component that is shareable across these platforms. And it's using as a backend Quivi.com Tequila API, which is standard REST API, but we built a GraphQL proxy. And this API gives you solution for building like another Quivi.com, because there is API for search flights, booking flights, location, whatever. So when someone is thinking about, I have like some cool web, let's say online dating, and I want to add feature how those two can arrange a trip somewhere. So he can use our APIs to build a feature. But we thought that for front end, there should be much more given. So we built this Margarita, and you can take a look how all the GraphQL relay, all these React Native and React Native web things works together. And I have, hopefully this will be viable. Yeah, so now you can see how it doesn't work. So standard, the web version is responsive, you got some search form, you put some firmware and all these standard things, it gives you the results. And the added value is that all these components are the kind of just define, tell me where to get the data. And the same components works also on Android and works also on iOS. But you can see that the UI can be different, but still written in the React Native. So all of these is public on the GitHub repository I mentioned. Give it a try, and maybe build another Quivi.com if you want to. If you are missing some feature on our website, build your own website. People will start using it. We will acquire it later. So, up now. Yep. Please share your love, star, create issues, make pull requests, even just try it, give us a feedback if the documentation is useful, whatever. It's all those mentioned projects are really waiting for your feedback, because we are using it on production, but we are definitely like in the project. The feedback from new people will be very valuable for us. I will put those slides online, so all the links are already here for you. There is even more. I didn't include our tools, for example, for monorepo, because all these things are developed in a monorepo. We are just exporting them to GitHub and NPM. We got some extra tools for tests, for some, we call it optimistic data loader for the GraphQL, so something that can handle some failures. some useful JS things for testing and stuff like that. All of this is published on these packages. Take a look and please provide feedback. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.